Hi, I'm Anna Rita Sosa, and I'm a freshman at Clemson University. The new student dialogue that I did was mental health in college awareness and stigma, and we mainly discussed topics pertaining to mental disorders and illnesses such as depression and suicide. And the main purpose was because it's believed that there's a lack of understanding among college students about such diseases and that many common stigmas exist. And the main purpose of this particular dialogue was to teach students how to connect with other students better all along the mental health continuum. And we opened up the session by introducing ourselves and participating in an icebreaker activity. And the first activity we did was to set ground rules that everyone is expected to follow throughout the entire duration of the dialogue. And we were basically allowed to just shout out words or phrases that described ways that people should and shouldn't act. Some examples include like being respectful or friendly or understanding. And the next activity we did was complete a worksheet where we had to define certain factors about ourselves, such as gender, religion, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, and many more. And then we were then put into partners, and we discussed where we would personally rank each of those factors based on their importance to us. And then the next activity we did was more related to the actual topic of the dialogue of mental health. And we were split into small groups, and we were each given a big piece of paper, and we were told to write down the first words that came to mind when we were given a certain mental health disorder, such as bipolar disorder, depression, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and so on. And we then went around the room and shared each of those words with all the other groups around in the room. And we basically found that a lot of the groups had the same common stigmas about each of the disorders. And that led us to talk about why many people can have depression and what factors can cause those disorders, such as stress or stress in the family through school and many other things as well. And then the leaders then showed us a video of a man who had attempted to commit suicide but actually survived. And the video was mainly about his experience after his survival and how he overcame his depression. And the main purpose of the video was to explain the importance of talking to people about any concerns that you may have about such disorders, because that's what truly prevents the worst that can happen, such as suicide. And talking is what can really allow people to open up and show their problems or emotions, and that's what will allow them to end up seeking professional help and getting treated. Overall, I do not believe that my group achieved true dialogue, because throughout the majority of the beginning of the dialogue, it felt as though everyone is pretty uncomfortable with the atmosphere of the dialogue, and no one really wanted to open up and say how they were feeling about such things. And it definitely felt as if many people couldn't relate to the issues that were being presented. But towards the end, I definitely think a dialogue was starting to happen amongst the group, because One of the leaders had um, just shared her experience of her being depressed when she was a freshman in college, so very recently, and that's what really caused people to kind of relate and talk about other friends they had who had either become depressed or almost become depressed. So only towards the end of the dialogue did we really start having people openly start talking about issues such as mental health. There were also definitely active voices and more reserved voices throughout the dialogue. Some people just never really talked at all. Others talked a whole bunch. But the majority of people were reserved. Like as I was saying, they didn't seem very comfortable with talking about such a topic until towards the end. I would say the role that I played during the dialogue was definitely in between the active and reserved. I definitely participated a couple of times. I was more active during the group activities and the partner activities. It was easier to talk to a person. It was easier to have a discussion with someone, simply one person, opposed to a group of 30 people or so. In general, I think that the dialogue is a requirement for Library 100 because it allows all students to see perspective of various underlying issues that many students have never really been exposed to. And the new student dialogue encourages students to develop a more open-minded view about issues not only like mental health but also like body image, race, sexual orientation, gender, and the list goes on. I think developing such an understanding and acceptance of such issues is especially important for students coming into college because it may be the first time the majority of students are really being around such a vast amount of people that can have such issues. That can have such issues such as depression, bipolar disorder, and suicide. I think that's it.